Throughout my teenage years, that's what I did, and we sort of formed some bands and jammed out with people you've met at school and things like that or whatever. Sorry, my shoe squeaked on the floor.
Was that your shoes?
I was waiting for you to say something.
It was really my shoes. Does that make sense? So that was kind of modeled to me my whole life through my mom, and she involved me all the time. We did stuff together. We sang songs together. We harmonized together at the piano. Taking the journey with the person. You've got to grow the person with the voice. Otherwise, what happens is that we land up with students that are playing amazingly in the classroom, and the minute they get the opportunity to translate that out, just too overwhelming, too hectic for them, and the opportunity has come and gone, and they haven't been able to take it. Hello and welcome.
How was your day?
Actually, it was really long and hot. What was it, like 29 degrees today?
It has been very hot today.
OMG. And I'm really good with the heat. But today was like borderline.
Yeah.
But I noticed the humidity is like insane. And is that like normal for Cape Town? Like at this time of the year? I don't even remember.
Yeah, I definitely think that's adding to today's discomfort. I've felt as well, like it's been quite humid. Instead 100%. Of just normal hot, it's actually like quite humid.
Absolutely. And one of my students was telling me he just came back from Johannesburg over the weekend, and he said he was so looking forward to getting back to Cape Town because Joburg was so hot and humid, and he said he literally stepped straight back into it today, so he was super bummed. I was like, well, what can we say? The weather is doing its own thing, who knows, with Cape Town at the moment, but anyway. I'd prefer it hot than cold, so we'll take it.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll take it.
Absolutely.
And your day, how was it?
The day was not bad. It was good. It's nice, sort of wrapping up the term and getting to the end of things.
For sure.
And it's been quite a year.
Quite
the year.
Yes.
So it was actually a nice day. I think everybody's sort of feeling quite wrecked after the exams and things like that. So I've just been enjoying hanging out with the students in a sort of a little bit of a different way, where you get to kind of jam a little bit more
and just enjoy the actual elements of the musicality of things. You know,
sort of less pressure of trying to get them ready for things, get to hang out.
I agree. It's been the same with us as well, definitely. Just allowing them to enjoy their voices and not have to sort of. Although I can't help myself with the technical focus, but but it was still cool, and so many really good lessons. Actually, I thought this week would be like just a free for all of people just wanting to get their last lesson done. But actually, the students have really been on it. They've really been into their classes and worked hard with their voices. So it's been pleasant so far. Really cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Our
very first podcast.
Yay, on the couch.
On the couch.
On the couch with Mike and Nat.
Yes,
Love
exactly.
Love it.
Very cool.
Yes.
Trying new things.
Yes. Why not?
Pushing new boundaries for 2025.
Always pushing new boundaries.
Trying some new things and stuff.
Yes, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So,
I mean, the vision for the podcast really is to just have scenarios where people can casually come and talk about who they are and what they're doing with their lives, their worlds as musicians, and kind of also, I suppose, letting the world into what has been quite a private world of legacy for so many years, and how we've just put our heads down and worked so hard at building this little empire. And now, letting people in to see, who it is that made this happen and who started it, and then eventually bringing in all the other amazing people that have built this business and having their sort of time to talk about who they are and what they do and the life they have in the school is just incredible. So I'm extremely excited about this, definitely.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. No, you're right. It's a great opportunity, and I think it's something that we should have probably done a long time ago.
And we were just so busy with other things.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can do.
Yeah, for sure. But now we're carving out some time.
Carving it out.
And I think it's a great way to try and also reach out to some of the students that are actually doing something.
Exactly.
There's a number of students here in Legacy that's either signed to a label or they have tons of music out on Spotify, and they've got massive followings and things like that. And it would be great to sort of be able to touch base with them and for people to get to know them a little bit better as well. And especially for the rest of our students to get to see what else is going on in the life of the school and how 100%. Some of the other students are actually, what they're doing and what they're up to and things like that, which we've essentially come across in some of our events, but we'll get into that
we'll talk
a little
about
bit
that.
later.
Absolutely.
But those are some of the things that I think will make the new year quite
Absolutely.
exciting and sort of jam-packed
Yeah,
and stuff.
and just integrative, you know, it's like it's almost like connecting the dots to all the little bits and pieces that people see, and then hopefully with the podcast being more, you know, lots of conversation, lots of information coming out, it'll be that sort of connector for everything, which I think will be very, very cool.
Sorry, my shoe squeaked on the floor.
Was that your shoes?
I was waiting for you to say something.
It was really my shoes.
He was so serious, and I thought you were going to say something about my shoe. My giant shoes.
I was actually fine until I saw that smile.
I couldn't help myself.
That's
I was
funny.
like, my shoes squeaked.
Yeah, so I kind of also hoping that people that are outside of the school will watch the podcast and think, this is where I want to start. You know, I think there's a lot of people out there that have wanted to take a journey in music, but life's taken over, or they lack the confidence to do it. I think there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people, and certain sort of institutions, or whatever you want to call them, certain presentations of how to study music, it can be very intimidating. I think, you know,
sure.
And connecting with a bunch of people that are just at a grassroots level of let's fundamentally be musicians together is, I think, a very unintimidating way of thinking to yourself, well, this is how I want to start. This is who I want to start with. I can do this, you know. I don't have to sit back and just think, well, I'm never going to get to this because that just seems over here, you know, that this is actually something I can join in with and be a part of, you know. And that excites me. That's what we want to do is reach people and bring that music out of them, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on the back of that, how did it happen for you? How did you get to the point where you decided that as a teenager or whatever it was when you started, you know, how did you find your steps to kind of getting going?
You know, honestly, I must say that I think my mom had a large amount to do with that. I mean, she is an amazing singer-songwriter all her life, basically. And our home was filled with music from the time I was little, obviously. And she was very involved, you know, very hands-on, you know, worked with a lot of bands, worked with a lot of singers, worked with a lot of like even African choirs. So my whole childhood was full of music, and watching my mom be very front-footed with sharing the gift of music. Does that make sense? So that was kind of modeled to me my whole life through my mom, and she involved me all the time. We did stuff together. We sang songs together. We harmonized together at the piano. We sang at weddings together, you know. So that was all part of my upbringing. So it was very familiar to me. But funnily enough, I didn't think of it as me. I didn't think of myself as taking a personal journey in music until much, much later. And I mean, I only started vocal training when I was 19. So it was kind of like a late bloomer in so many ways, you know. But once I started, there was no stopping me from there. You know, that really the bug bit. And I just somehow through the years, and it's such a long story, that will have to be a whole different podcast, but basically through all the ups and downs of a singing career, how it ignited my passion pretty much for vocal training, and how important the right kind of vocal training is, not that, you know, more in the way that we receive and understand how to master and control our voices, and also how to protect them, it can be a very difficult thing to teach, you know. And my passion for that just grew through the years of having my ups and downs with my own voice, and then watching many people who should have had beautiful opportunities have to take a back seat and not be able to take those opportunities because their voices were failing them, you know. And I, on many occasions, was one of those people. And it really spurred me on, you know, Mike, to do something to stop that from happening, to allow singers to master their voices and to protect their voices as best that they can, so they can take the opportunities that are rightfully theirs, you know. And I look at that, I just realized I smacked my microphone, so I'm so sorry about that. But I think that, you know, we all know how hard work this industry is. We all know how much time and effort and personal energy you have to put in. It breaks my heart when somebody can't take the opportunities that should be theirs. You know?
For sure.
And I watched that happen with so many singers. And so long story short, that was my journey. I moved overseas when I was 21. And the sky was the limit then. I got the opportunity to work with so many wonderful people in the industry, and I managed to get myself involved with a diverse amount of different job opportunities. So I was doing everything from Celtic singing to choirs to Euro pop. We were on contract as a Euro pop band at one stage, and singing and performing in Italy. Studio work, lots of studio work. And so luckily enough, when I came back to South Africa years later, I had accumulated a wealth of knowledge, that just happened from me being an Energizer bunny and literally not being able to say no to anything and just getting so much under my belt, And then, of course, when I came back to South Africa, my voice really battled and struggled. And so that's, again, a whole long story. But that's what urged me to get into teaching and drove, was part of my passion for wanting to turn the tables for singers, So that was really me. And in a nutshell, that's it, me. And you?
For me, I suppose it was a little bit sort of different in the sense that I didn't necessarily grow up with music. So in my house, my parents didn't really listen to music all that much. I think my dad wanted to and enjoyed listening to music, but it just wasn't something that necessarily happened very much. We did go to sort of friends and stuff, and they would have music going and things, but essentially around like about 12 or so, 11, 12, I had sort of started to sort of want to explore the idea of music and things like that, and drums was the first thing that sort of sparked my interest. And my dad was actually the one that landed up sort of tying those dots together for me. And I landed up doing some lessons and sort of getting a little bit into the idea of being able to play drums and kind of go a little bit from there. And so throughout my teenage years, that's what I did. And we sort of formed some bands and jammed out with people you've met at school and things like that or whatever. And we gigged a little bit. And so I was already doing the town scene at like 16.
Amazing.
And thankfully, I was sort of in college already by then, so I looked a little bit older and had a little bit of a goatee and the whole vibe. And you look back now and think,
"Oh no, don't show us those photos."
What the hell was I thinking?
I know, never go back.
Yeah, so we just sort of did that whole thing, and the whole gig scene throughout your teens and stuff of jamming out.
Fully.
And then it was in my 17, 18, I got into teaching, and it was just really an opportunity that arose at the time, and I got the spot to be able to kind of do that. And that's also where sort of the bug bit, in the sense that once I started working with other people and being able to sort of see where their strengths and weaknesses were, and to see where I could sort of assist them, and then also just realizing over time, having the ability to explain things in a particular way that caused people to sort of understand it.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, and that made me realize, hey, maybe I actually have a little bit of something
here.
Yeah, to sort of teach and assist people through their journey. And it was actually through sort of when I was in like 22, 23, I was watching a lot of like Mike Johnston's videos and things like that, and there was an interview with him where he was also a performing drummer, was in a band doing the whole touring thing, and then got into teaching, and basically sort of said that he had reached a point where teaching was actually fulfilling him as a musician, and that, a lot of people feel like if you're not gigging and you're not a working musician, then you
not
haven't
made it.
Yeah, you're not a real musician kind of thing, and he was just kind of trying to debunk that in a way by sort of stating that him as a teacher is actually giving him everything that he needs as a functional musician and feeling fulfilled as a musician.
Incredible.
And and I took a moment to sort of step back and think to myself, you know what, that's actually how I feel as well. I'm not really into the gig scene. I could not see myself, even now, I could not see myself having to go somewhere and play on stage at 11, 12, 1 o'clock or whatever. That was fun sort of in the early days. And I mean, I didn't even really do it to that extent as a teenager, but that was just never really my vibe. And so I just sort of got into the teaching side. And then at 24, that's when you and I decided we're going to start our own school, baby.
I know, but I mean, the way we met was purely that I couldn't afford drumming lessons, and of course I have this ridiculous notion that I am internally a
There's
very
nothing
good
ridiculous
drummer.
about it.
One day I will return.
Yes.
But there was my heart's desire to play the drums, couldn't afford it, right? And you the same way. I mean, we were working young people, you younger than me, obviously, but I mean, I had a young family, and I think at that point I was even pregnant with my second child. I can't even remember.
You were, yeah.
And so I wanted to do drums, you wanted to do vocals, and we just traded out.
Yeah.
That was the first beginnings of everything, and that's when we started chatting in the classes and getting to know each other, and the rest is history. That is really it,
Yeah, for sure.
Wild. And then, band practice when we just looked at each other and said, should we start a music school?
Yeah.
I think it pretty much went like that.
It pretty much went like that. It's exactly
went
like that.
And we were like, yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
And I think it was how many months after that conversation we actually did it?
It was probably, I think, 4.
I think it was
months.
4 or 5 months.
It really wasn't very long after that.
It just kind of like went.
Yeah, we kind of set it up quite quickly.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
All those years ago.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to think how things sort of fell into place as it went along. We went and looked at one premises, and the first premises we went to go look at was the premises we landed up signing the lease with.
Right.
And it already like met the vision of what we wanted with the sort of performance venue being in the school itself.
Exactly.
And being able to sort of host our own sort of little internal concerts and stuff, which was our unique approach to sort of how we were going to do things as a music school, and why we needed the space like that. And it was such a sort of a leap of faith per se, in the sense that it was way bigger than what we could sustain with the amount of students we didn't have.
The vision was large.
Yeah, and that we had to kind of grow into the space. But thankfully, other people bought into the vision too.
Yes.
And before we knew it, we were sort of doing our thing and kind of going from there.
And I think there's so much to be said for that, because, you hit the nail on the head there. I think that so many people did buy into the vision. And I think that took you and I by surprise. I mean, we've talked about that so many times. You could have taken this back to the powers that be in your life at the time and said, this is what I want to do. And they could have just said, like, forget that.
Yeah.
So not happening. And it could have been the same with me as well.
Yeah.
And yet it was almost like an instant yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And they got behind us 100%, not even 50%. They were behind us right from the start. And for that, I'll ever be grateful.
Yeah.
I must admit. I mean, if we didn't have that support, I mean, you and I didn't even have a shadow of a doubt. We were just like, get in there and make it happen. And I think that was the incredible key to igniting legacy, was yours and my unflinching belief that we could do this. And that I will always be super proud of. And we still have that today. There is just that element of, shall we do that? Let's do it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And to think the the things we tried and did over the first few years, and like you try everything, like when you start,
I think we tried everything.
When you start a new business and you're also in a way new to business, you really do try everything 100%. To kind of get it off the ground.
We were in boots and all. I mean, even the flyers at the robots. I mean, shucks, we did it all. The marches. Do you remember the marches with the drums down the beachfront, handing out flyers? I mean, that was boots and all stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't hold back. We just went with it. You know?
And at the end of the day, I think in one way or another, it paid off. Something paid off, and I suppose longevity is really the key thing. Here we are, 14 years down the road, and now we're not necessarily doing that style of marketing anymore, and maybe we're not necessarily above that style of marketing. It's just
it just changes.
It's just now it's like you start to finally
more efficient.
You start to get a little bit of a foot in the door, and people kind of get to know you a little bit in that. But we really have tried it all. I mean, some of the concerts that we did as well, like they would be anything from just try and put something together and rent a hall and just put a bunch of equipment on the stage, to like moving to doing a thing at Ratanga at that Mega View.
Didn't we do more than one at Ratanga?
We did like 2, I think. 2 or 3.
2 or 3 at Ratanga. And I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was really incredible. But OMG, what a huge amount of work we did to that.
Oh my word.
But again, as well, an incredible bunch of people who were so keen and so willing. So for what it was at the time, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were like, we felt like rock stars. We were really so happy we could do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a huge body of work.
Yeah.
Huge body of work.
And we did have some amazing people along the way that helped with those sorts of things. I mean, the guys like Mike and Richard and stuff from
Incredible.
What was it, Mars or?
It was Marshall initially,
Marshall,
and then changed to Mars.
Yeah, and then Flicked and Flacked or whatever.
And Bill Taylor at Tango Junction. I mean, there've been some incredible
Bill
support.
was amazing as well, helping us with the venue and that. And it was, I think one of the things was that the venue was just so huge that it was almost like we couldn't like conceptualize the space of it and actually like work the space of it in a particular way, but it was also a great opportunity for the students to sort of figure that out and all that sort of stuff. And but as time went on, we dumped them. You know, tell me a bit about your side of your viewpoint on why we eventually stopped doing big concerts like that.
Yeah, well, I think it was a very honest conversation one day. You and I were having our very expensive weekly lunches.
Our wacky Wednesdays at the beach.
How many years did we stick to Wacky Wednesday? At least the first 7.
Yeah, it was a very, very long time.
A very long time. We were Wacky Wednesday fans. And it just was an honest conversation, I think, in the car at the beachfront with our Wacky Wednesdays. I think it was a pretty windy day, and I just remember, I don't know if it was me or you who said it first, and I just said, you know, I don't think a once-a-year concert is actually teaching anybody what it means to be an on-the-ground musician.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not helping people that suffer from very real things like performance anxiety. A once-a-year big concert doesn't, it's definitely a challenge for one to rise to, and you can be very proud of yourself to rise to that occasion, but it's really not building a permanent feature into you of being somebody that can overcome that by doing something more regularly.
Yeah.
And you and I looked at it really and thought, you know, weighed it up. It was when you and I started weighing it up, you know, for the amount of work that went into the practices and getting all those people together in one place at one time, which is in itself a pure miracle.
Yeah.
And then for the number of practices you needed to do for it to be amazing, then getting everybody on board for the venue, the equipment, all of those things. I mean, the hugeness of it all. And then we weighed that up against what it was actually doing for the students. And, you know, this is how I remember it anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
And you and I looked at it and went, no, maybe what we need to be doing is more of these once-a-term open mic nights, which we were doing at the time. I think it was once a term we did them, right?
Yeah, it was only once a term, yeah.
Yeah, once a term, and it was great, but we didn't really put a lot of emphasis on it. You know, it was really the end of your concert. And then we decided to tip it all on its head and start doing more of the open mic night style thing, so that people had at least 2 or 3 opportunities in the term to get up there and do what they were learning, put it into action, you know.
For sure.
And I think we've seen personally exponential growth, since we've really started doing that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has really felt that they have grown because they've had more opportunities. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much how I remember it, you know, and getting to where we are now, and of course, way more now than ever, which is so awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I think the logic of parents paying X amount to come watch the show and watch their child perform for 3 minutes and then that's it.
Yeah, and it's been months of practice.
Yeah, months of practice.
Craziness.
Yeah, I think even the students themselves were kind of like, you know, I'm out. Like, don't ask me to play the next concert.
Yeah, they definitely were also like dreading.
Yeah.
Everyone started dreading that time of the year. Like, don't put me in a band. Don't put me in a band.
Don't put me in a band. Exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, we are ultimately trying to create an environment, or working towards creating an environment that is as real world as possible. You know, as even though in certain instances, like an open mic night can be really raw, and an open mic night is essentially just a sort of a raw event.
Yeah.
The reality is that a lot of those beginner gigs, and I think about like all the beginner gigs I used to play and trying to make our way through at that stage, it was Mercury in town, and you would play the downstairs venue first, and then if you sort of like created a bit of a following,
you would then
then you'd go to upstairs or whatever, and if you went upstairs and you were like, damn, you know, you've like kind of made it
now,
you know, and you're playing like the main stage kind of thing, and you had to like work your way through, and you would play the bottom venue to like 5, 6, 7 people,
right,
you know, who might not be interested in you at all. They
might just be there by default.
Exactly. And so realistically, playing venues per se that are raw like that and are as real as possible and are in an environment where you are addressing or at least being given the opportunity to address some of the real world things, like the anxiety, right? The nerves nerves and stuff is part of the biggest hindrance in most of the students that we see as to why they maybe can't do certain things.
Right.
And so you're kind of like tackling two things at once with something like an open mic night. You're creating an environment that is comfortable and is also non-threatening to address the anxiety, but at the same time it's an environment that has got that raw aspect to it, that's got that real aspect to it, so that you can also practice the anxiety. Because unless you put yourself in that situation and allow yourself to kind of almost fight through it, and to practice getting better at facing the anxiety or the stage fear and all that sort of stuff, you don't really get to actually solve it, you know.
It doesn't solve itself. It solves itself by you doing, you know, keeping on pursuing, pushing through it, you know. And I was just actually saying to one of my students today, I said, you know, she was saying, oh my gosh, she said, I just feel different as a person, you know, with all the stuff that I'm doing now and with all the goals that I've got for next year and all the things that you do, I want to get involved in them, etc. And she said, I just feel so different as a person. And I said to her, well, to be entirely honest, one of our biggest drives here at Legacy is people. It's actually sometimes the person more than it is even the instrument. I mean, you and I have said it before. And it's like, I know for vocals, there's no way you can grow a voice without taking the journey with the person. You know, you've got to grow the person with the voice. Otherwise, what happens is that we land up with students that are playing amazingly in the classroom, and the minute they get the opportunity to translate that out, just too overwhelming, too hectic for them, and you know the opportunity has come and gone, and they haven't been able to take it. You know, and for them to be able to have open mic night, and then of course recently we have introduced iSteadford for them to have different opportunities, performance opportunities, get some feedback on how they're doing, which is quite fun, get a certificate. And then of course Fireverse sessions, which I want to talk about because we just had one on Saturday, which was rip your face off amazing. And how Fireverse has been so incredibly awesome, you know. And again, something we talked about for years. It's almost like we have to talk about stuff and mull it over for ages before we actually do it, you know. But then when we do it, we tend to sort of just do it, which is pretty cool. And Fireverse has been, I think, such a great addition to students feeling like they can progress to another level instead of just get up at an open mic night informal event. Not that Fireverse is formal, but you know, it's that it's that next level for them, you know, and they definitely feel it, which I think is fantastic. You know?
Let's backtrack a sec. There was one thing that you said there about the confidence side and just a bit of that sort of stuff. We've always sort of been aware of the fact that the classes a lot of the times is almost like a therapy, you know, and so we've spoken a little bit about how the school almost feels like it's got this holistic kind of aspect to it, right? What has that been like for you with your students and your journey with being a vocal coach? Like, how has that part sort of affected the lessons as far as like, you know, you tend to, one would tend to go into a lesson being like, this is the class XYZ, but now the student arrives and they've got stuff going on or whatever. And before you know it, the lesson is more like a therapy
session. So that, and I think that, I think in all honesty, I think that is part and parcel of teaching music. Because, you know, they say that you know, what they say, your eyes are the windows of your soul. And yet, you know, when I teach singing, it's like I can hear what's happening in that person's world in their voices, you know. And I can hear its sorrow and I can hear joy. And it's what makes it just one of the most miraculous things, you know. And I think it's exactly what I was saying earlier about growing the person with the instrument. You know, you can't, that block is so real. If they're having a rough day, that block is so real that it can literally close off the voice completely.
Absolutely.
You know? And until that is unblocked and they're able to face up to what it is that's causing that, you can't pursue the class. So you do whatever it is going to take to move that person through that, you know. And, you know, in essence, having the ability to do that, and I think power is the wrong word, but having the privilege to do that for somebody and to do that with somebody is definitely one of the reasons I get up in the morning. because I want to take that opportunity. I want to meet with you and I want to walk this journey with you. If it's a great day, fabulous. If it's a bad day, cool. We've all been there, you know. But are you going to become the best version of yourself? Yes, you are, if I have anything to do with it, you know. And that is definitely a huge passion of mine, is that person element, and in essence that therapy element, because you want to unlock the voice, you want to unlock the talents, and that has got so much to do with where that person is at, you know.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's such a great thing about what a lot of our staff actually do as well, you know, just giving a shout out to them, you know, is that they also just have that natural
each and every one
interest,
of them.
and passion to unlock as much potential in each person as possible, and I think that also sort of taps into sort of our thoughts on the whole rock star vibe, you know, and the whole like the whole idea of if you're doing music and you're attending lessons at a music school or something like that, you should be in a band, you should be performing like a rock star, you should be XYZ, and the stereotype of feeling like if you're studying music, you must be a performing musician or whatever it is.
So you have to get up here, or you have to be up here to be noticed, to be recognized, all of that. You know?
have to almost be doing something with it. Whereas with sort of our approach, and especially even just the rest of the teachers on board and stuff, has really just been about meeting the student where they're at, and it doesn't really matter, you know, what the end goal is. It's really just about what are you needing to get out of this process.
Absolutely.
You know? And I even find, like with me, with the drumming students, a lot of what I try to unlock in them is the confidence, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of them don't have or may struggle with confidence, and because drums is a big instrument, and you need to approach it with a particular intention, and I think the word intention is so important when it comes to drums, and even guitar, but specifically for drums. If you sit behind the drums and you feel flat or low or whatever that might be causing you to feel, and I don't want to use the word weak, but for the lack of a better word, like feeling a bit like weak or flat, whatever, it's going to come across in the way that you play. You're not going to hit the drums aggressively enough. But when you get behind the kit and you set your intention, you have to set that particular ideal of you know, you're almost approaching the drums with aggression, you know, and you're approaching it with a strength or power or whatever you want to call it, and that would reflect in the way that you play, and the harder you hit, the more potent the drums sound, and the drums do need to be hit in a particular way to have that vibe, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't give it that vibe, people are not going to feel like they need to get out of their seat. They're not going to feel encouraged to kind of bounce around and dance or whatever.
Yes.
And so I find that that's sort of my therapy almost, in that you see these students start to grow. I mean, look at, like, again, shout out, like, look at Nathan on Saturday at Fireverse, you know, just coming out of his shell every day, and like each time he's playing, he's getting better and better.
What a drummer. And
then it affects his personal life too, because now the confidence that he's showing in his playing and the way he's approaching his playing, and the intention and aggression and everything behind the stroke of each hit and all that sort of stuff is starting to showcase in the way that he communicates and in the way that he sort of addresses things and stuff. And that's, I think, a very interesting journey that music can bring to the equation. And when we're talking about things like anxiety and confidence and self-esteem and blah, 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 all those sorts of things, music has a great way, and especially in the right hands though.
You're right there.
Yeah, especially if it's taught within the right sort of setting and in the right environment, one can flourish in a therapeutic way where they become such a better human. And I think that's something that I feel like, if that was the definition of the word legacy, then I would say that, like, you know, I feel like that's what our mission statement should essentially say in so many words, you know, because that's what makes me feel passionate about being a teacher, and about especially being a teacher here and at Legacy and all that sort of stuff. I think that's really my joy in 100%. The big scheme of things.
You know, absolutely. And I second, third and fourth you on that one, because you know, again, the thing that additionally I absolutely love about us is the fact that we don't put this elevation on everything. So there isn't like, you get recognition from us as a team if you are at a particular level. And until you get to that particular level, well, you're just unseen, you know. what I love about us is that we see everybody, and we definitely try to see everybody. That our students know that whatever level they're at, we have a great appreciation for what they're doing and for the progress that they're making. And one person's progress may not be someone else's, and yet we give them the same kind of encouragement and we give them the same kind of acclaim, because their journey was just as difficult as that other person's. It just ended up differently. And for them to know that they've been recognized and really celebrated for their journey, their individual journey, is something I love about us so very, very much. And you're so right that when I look at the people that work with us and that have helped us to build legacy through the years, our staff, I mean, all of them just have that innate love of people. And that's what makes it so beautiful. It's what makes coming to work a joy every single day. So it really is, for me, everything that it should be. And it's been beautiful to discover that over the years. Try on all the different hats to see, is this outfit, is that outfit? Are we like this? Should we be doing more like that? Are we not doing enough? Are we, doing too much? All the anxieties that come with running a business. And then sort of just gently getting to that almost mature place of, actually, this is us, and it feels so good. And I mean, you and I are always looking for new and interesting ways of doing things, and which is what keeps us, I suppose, on the edge of things. But
young and fresh.
But I just love how we found our groove, and I really do think that we have. And it's a privilege. It's a great, great privilege to be doing what we're doing, and the fact that we called ourselves Legacy, I think, is the best thing that we could have done, because I trust and that this style of teaching, what legacy is, this style of growing people, will live on way beyond you and I, and that we can build this into other people who will take it on. I have a real hope that will continue, far beyond what we can do.
Yeah, for sure. On a personal level of things, what's happening in your life as far as what do you see for yourself in 2025? What are some of your goals and visions?
I think...
Weren't we supposed to have flying cars by now?
Yeah, definitely boxing that in an Audi. As you
said it slowly like that, I was like, wait, was I saying the date wrong? But I was like, it sounds so futuristic, man.
2025, I feel very positive about. For me personally, I feel like there are things that I would like to achieve in 2025, personal things I'd like to achieve, that potentially I've been so busy in life all over the show that those things not quite yet been tied up. So I've definitely got some goals, personal goals, that I want to achieve in 2025, and obviously that bleeds into what I do here with Legacy. I think 2024 has brought me many opportunities to get off base, which in itself has been such a different sort of time for me, where I can take what I do here and also offer it outside, which has been fun to network, a greater sort of level of relationships, which I think has been super beneficial. And I'm hoping to continue to do that into 2025. But also I feel more invigorated about teaching than ever before. It's like you don't realize how you morph into a more progressed teacher as you do your thing, and certain ideas will strike you still after 25 years of teaching, and you're thinking, why wasn't I doing this 25 years ago when I started? Why am I only thinking of this concept now? But I guess that is just how life goes. And so I have this new course that I want to put out, which is called the Vocal Conditioning course that you and I have been chatting about, where it has an element of vocal rehabilitation, where somebody can come and do an 8-week session with me, where we take a look at the condition of their voice, and then I help them to stabilize it and to figure out what can be done to improve it. Which I think is going to be so wonderful because I have such a passion for vocal rehabilitation.
Yes.
And so I look forward to that vocal conditioning being, just available to people, because I know what it's like to have your voice, go all funky on you and not even know where to start, So for us as a school to be able to offer just a starting place to come to and say, look, I don't know what to do. It's just not working, help me. And then to be able to take that journey and to be of assistance is a real passion of mine. So I'm looking forward to having that course up and running in 2025. And also masterclasses, which I think are so essential for development, where, you will cover certain elements in the classroom, but never really be able to take focus time. And so masterclasses are really focused times on elements of teaching that need more expounding and also need more interaction from your side, So masterclasses, there'll be 2 a term for next year. Excited about that. Offering it to the students and people outside who can, come and just find out more about elements of singing that they don't really know enough about, and the education of singing and creating the voice is so important to me. So being able to put that information out there to as many people as I possibly can is definitely a goal of mine for 2025, and improving, my knowledge constantly, my abilities to translate that information. So that's pretty much what I have on the cards for 2025. Maybe taking over a few small countries, but we'll see how it goes. Pretty much that. And you, what is 2025 looking like? I know what your 2024 has been.
Oh my word.
Oh my gosh.
2024 has been
serious year.
Yeah, but it's been amazing at the same time, having gotten to the point where, Q and I have now had a baby.
Absolutely.
And that has been sort of a massive journey in itself, being together for such a long time and being now later in our 30s and now having technically only having a baby now feels like also so late to be having a baby per se. But
it's so perfect.
But it's so perfect at the same time, we've had an opportunity to sort of do what we've needed to do as far as building some stability in ourselves and our careers and our work and all that sort of stuff, and then being able to get to the point where I think even sort of emotionally and just who we are as people are now ready sort of for this journey. And we've been fortunate enough to now be in this position to now be parents for the first time, and it's been awesome. And the thing I think that's been really great, apart from the normal things of becoming a parent and the joys of a child and all that sort of stuff, is just how it's impacted me back here in sort of my teaching again, in the sense that it's put me in a position to finally understand what the parents are thinking. And now being a parent myself, I can understand the parents a little bit better.
For sure.
And I find that I have a deeper understanding, or at least a deeper and even stronger patience and understanding of little kids and the younger kids and stuff, which I feel like has helped a lot. And it's really given me the opportunity to almost enjoy them even more. And I've actually never really had a problem with kids before, but it's like now
you've always been really excellent with kids.
But now I feel like a little bit more out there,
Sure.
I feel
it's
like
a whole different level.
I feel like for the longest time I've always been in the background, and I've just sort of like always been like maybe the tech guy in the background, or like everything's working because it's like there's somebody in the background. Where now sort of in this environment, I feel like it's helping me to come forward a little bit more, because I feel like now having a child myself is allowing me to relate to like the other students, the other younger students and stuff, and
for sure.
And to sort of just be like a little bit more relevant in that sense, that now I'm a parent too, so that makes sense.
Right.
So I'm enjoying that side of it, and I'm enjoying the fact that it's making me feel like free. It's giving me that sense of just feeling more content with life.
Definitely.
Because it also is a huge deal. It's like a massive stress on your life. It's
huge deal.
You're freaking out, wondering if you're doing the right thing. But
24/7.
24/7, but there's aspects to it that also causes you to kind of like just settle into yourself. You kind of like
you
find
peace in a
yeah,
way.
you find like this new version of yourself that you don't know exists until you know in that position.
Yeah.
And so that's something I feel very grateful for, and just
Amazing.
enjoying that side of life right now, and trying to like just slow the clock down the whole time and just sit here
Don't
for
rush,
a little bit,
right?
you know.
Exactly.
So one of the things I'm definitely looking forward to now with the term ending and going on a bit of a break, it'd be nice to just spend time with her, spend time with the family, spend time with the wife, and actually just be able to like, you know, also take a moment to reminisce and look back on everything and take stock of the year. It's definitely been a pretty chock-a-block one.
It really has.
But yeah, as far as visions for the new year, I think for me, I'm looking forward to kind of settling back into a nice groove with teaching again this year, specifically with the baby. I feel like I've taken a bit of a step back to try and focus on that, and I've just sort of almost survived the year. You know, I've spent the year just teaching and doing my thing, but not necessarily pushing myself in any way. So now in the new year, I'm very much looking forward to kind of pushing my skills a little bit more, and now that I've also incorporated guitar a little bit into the mix and stuff, I'm looking to really push my skills there as well.
So cool.
I've been enjoying incorporating that into my skill set, and so I'm looking forward to just seeing where I can sort of take things.
Amazing.
And just in my personal journey as a musician and things like that. I think that's one of the things that's also I've noticed in you over the years is you're constantly trying to push that boundary the whole time. And I mean, my question to you was your personal journey, and you almost can't help but go back to your like, you know, and it just goes to show the depth of your passion for your industry and your teaching and what you're doing and all that sort of stuff. But I think what's really awesome about it is what you bring to the table as far as all those layers go. You know, you're not just a vocal coach. You've also got this rehabilitation aspect to it. You've even done things like, you know, the vocal, the motivational speaking and things like that. You know, helping people with
public speaking.
Yes. Thank you, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You even had like a while back the lawyers and stuff that wanted you to help them project in the courtroom and stuff. So it's like it just goes to show the
so
depth
many aspects.
of all those aspects and stuff, and which I think is super awesome. So I like the fact that you know, even and again, shout out to the rest of the teachers. Yeah, exactly. They also pushing those boundaries all the time.
Involved in so many different little things.
Yeah,
you know?
Each teacher is over time bringing in something new.
Absolutely.
You know, and taking on another instrument, and maybe it was like a sideline. Like for me, guitar was always a sideline sort of thing. Like I did it at the same length of time that I've been doing drums, but I've been focusing drums as my main thing, and guitar was just like a hobby-like thing on the side. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that there wasn't skills that were busy developing at the same time. Yes. Now what I'm doing is harnessing it to actually like study it and understand it better. Exactly. But the skill set's still there. You know, the rhythms and all the patterns and all the chords and all the things are all there, and the foundation of that is actually quite, you know, developed in itself. Now we just have to tie it with something else. So it's the same with the other teachers as well, bringing in other aspects of things that they actually are technically super qualified on, but have never like ventured into it in that extent, which I think is really rad. And it's almost
like just broadening the umbrella, really. Yeah, you know?
Absolutely. And that's just something I've been inspired over the years through you, is how you've always tried to, you know, change it up, you know, because I think at the end of the day, that's the difference between someone who's a singing teacher and someone who's a vocal coach. You know, you've got such an understanding of all the different levels of different areas and what we've just sort of mentioned. That you know, that's pretty awesome. And the different clients you've also had over time, with that you've explored these areas.
We could write a book on the different clients we've had. I think it absolutely is a motley crew of different experiences and stuff like that. So thank you for that. And I often take stock of just how blessed we were to find a moment in time where our paths crossed, and just that likeness of mind and energy to want to do something good, you know, Mike. And it's that essence of goodness that I've always admired tremendously, you know, in you, and that rock solidness about you. And I don't think we could have done this without you. Besides, again, the fact that you are, and I think the first interest that we really had in each other, and for me, one of the best musicians that I've ever worked with. So, so much of that right back at you, my friend.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
Thank
inspiration you. After inspiration. But that's what keeps us going now. The day we stop inspiring each other and urging each other on is the day that I suppose this will not happen anymore. So it's just great to work with somebody and with people that are just so inspiring. And I think that pretty much brings us to where we are now in 2024. And lots of different aspects I think that we're going to discuss during these podcasts that are going to take us up into all kinds of memories. I mean, could we just tell stories that make us laugh till the cows come home?
Yeah.
I mean, there are just too many. And that will be a whole podcast on its own. Because that is a whole thing. But there's been so much fun. There's been hard work, and there has been persistence. There's been tears. There's been frustrations, but all in all, it's been so much fun.
Yeah,
I've loved this journey, and I look forward, to what it will become still, and I think that's what that keeps our interest up. Is that we are ever morphing, and we always just get a taste of what it will be, and that's what keeps us going. You know, so congratulations on getting so far.
Yes, and to you too.
Yeah,
and to you too.
Very proud of what we have.
Yeah, thank you for the journey.
Absolutely.
And let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely, looking forward to it on the couch. On the couch has been amazing.
Now we're just gonna hope like hell that the cameras didn't stop. It'd be like our recording sessions where we left and we were like, yo, we smashed 5 songs. We come back the next day and it'd be like, wow, okay, one of them we could probably keep.